Hello, welcome to the Safe Space Podcast, the place where we're using our spark to unite our allies. We are your hosts. My name is Marcella.
And I'm Brittany.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 5. First of all, I want to start this episode off by addressing a comment that we received on our Facebook page. Or it wasn't even our Facebook page, it was Brittany's personal Facebook page.
Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah. So this podcast is something that Brittany and I have never done before. Never done anything like this before. Never done any sort of like public speaking or anything before this. And the comment mentioned that it feels like listening to someone read off of a Wikipedia page. Which I feel was kind of a personal attack that was unnecessary.
Yeah, because, first of all, we know not to get information from there. Not facts, anyway.
No, I use more reputable sources than Wikipedia, so. And of course, at the moment, our show is highly scripted with like some banter and talk in between. And while we do try our best to make the script and the show overall engaging, it really is our main goal to make it more informative overall. So using a script kind of helps to keep us on track and keep us focused with the topics. And we're trying to provide as much backstory and facts as we can because that's what is the most important to us here. Trying to explain how things were and why things are the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to include a lot of that factorial based backstory. And of course, we're still new to this and aren't going to be perfect right off the bat. Like I've said, we've never done anything like this before. But we do apologize if it feels this way for anyone else, because also, like I said, we want this to be engaging and interesting content as well as informative. And the comment also mentioned that it feels like our show is a venue for the two of us to hate Trump and to trash anyone with a perspective other than our own. Yes, we do hate Trump.
Very much.
Not a secret. Never has been. Never will be. In fact, part of the spark that fueled this, the creation of the show, this whole thing, was the mutual hatred for him.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a safe space for people that aren't just die hard for him.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for people who are more willing to hear the other side and willing to understand why the things that he's doing, the things that he's done aren't okay,
Yeah.
So neither of us have ever been quiet in our utter loathing for this man.
Not at all.
So I feel like that really shouldn't be much of a surprise to anybody who's known us for any amount of time. And while we do want this to be a safe space, it's not going to be a safe space for everybody, like hardcore, Trumpers or people that aren't willing to listen.
Right. And if he weren't doing such terrible things, it wouldn't be like that. But he's doing terrible things.
Yes. And our show is largely about, I guess I could have worded this a little bit better, about hatred of Trump. But I mean, it is, and his ideologies. Because a lot of them are inherently ignorant and, for lack of better terms, under-knowledged,
Mm-hmm.
We will not tolerate hatred, ignorance, or Trump supporters. on the show. So apologies if you thought differently.
Yeah, there's no like or love or any fondness of any kind for that man.
No, no. And at this point, I feel like it's more of it's not even really a difference in like politics anymore. It's become like a difference in moral issues.
Right, because politics always, everyone in politics lies, but this is so much worse than the typical political games.
Yes. Yes, and that's kind of the point that we're trying to make here.
It's not a difference of opinion either when we're talking about human rights for everyone.
Yeah.
While we do understand that transgender people should not be included in sports solely because they are transgender, our point to the last episode was to talk about how they shouldn't be excluded solely for being transgender. We do understand that there may be certain unfair advantages, and in certain circumstances, however, they should not be immediately disregarded or barred. It seems a bit hypocritical to try to tell people to be understanding of hatred, bigotry, and ignorance, while at the same time not being understanding of inclusion, diversity, and open-mindedness.
I just wanted to bring up the fact that the comment also mentioned Riley Gaines, and from what I read from who Riley Gaines is, she's advocating to have transgender people completely removed from sports. And I just wanted to like reiterate, we do understand that they shouldn't be included just because of the fact that they're transgender, like they shouldn't have to be the token transgender people, but they also shouldn't be completely excluded and banned and barred from sports just for being transgender. Like there has to be
Right.
some, middle ground.
Just like anyone else with an advantage or something. Like, of course you don't want just that advantage, I guess I'm trying to say.
Right. Like I said, there should be a middle ground where we should be able to find a way to like do it with equality.
Yeah. I also read a little bit about Riley Gaines, and I guess she's advocating against it because she lost to a transgender person.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Well, but like, I just like we understand it shouldn't be one way or the other. Like we should be able to find a nice middle ground because
Yeah.
it is true that there might be an unfair advantage sometimes. However, that's not going to be the whole of the case every time.
No, not at all.
So
Well, we completely disagree with the majority of the right's ideology and think a lot of it is stupid. It may not be entirely fair for us to be calling all people stupid. However, we do very much believe that it is largely ignorant. Going forward with the rest of the show, we will try our best to word our opinions in a more professional manner. After all, we want this podcast to reach out to people and really make them think about the things going on around them. We strive to speak out and speak up, and as much as we love for people with our same views to be here, we do also want to try and change the minds of others who may not agree with us. With all that being said, let's dive into the rest of the episode.
okay, so I believe it was episode 2 that we did on not diversity, discrimination and immigration.
Yes.
And so, in the first part on this topic, we spoke about how the families and children were being detained, um, and shelters and places of worship were being raided, and people were heavily discriminated against for skin color. And this time around, people are being held in federal prisons, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to open it for like it was like 30,000 detainees, or 300,000, something like that. I think it was 30. But that's ridiculous. And birthright citizenship is also being questioned, which is equally as ridiculous. When interviewed by the Associated Press, the Bureau of Prisons declined to state how many people are being taken in, as well as which prisons they will be sent to, which I thought was kind of weird. Like, why isn't that information available?
Right. It should be.
I agree. I thought it should be too.
Like, what did you say? 30,000? That's 30,000 displaced people and families.
Right, right. And a lot of it, like, he's saying that they're trying to, get all the criminals, but that, we'll talk about it a little bit later in this episode. Like, you can't. How am I trying to say this? They're wanting to go after all of the criminals, right? To get all the criminals out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're discriminating everybody against, like, the color of their skin, assuming everybody who isn't white basically is illegal or a criminal of some sort.
Yeah,
And
basically.
they're detaining a lot of people who have birthright citizenship and who have never had any sort of crime record.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just crazy.
And that the birthright citizenship can also be towards the white people. So it's like, why
Right.
do you want this? You could easily be just as much in trouble. Maybe not right away, but
Right, right. See, and that's where it comes back into, like, they're using the color of somebody's skin to, like, base this off of, because even, like, we hear a lot about, like, Mexican people or Latinos being detained and, like,
mm-hmm.
deported and stuff, but you don't really hear about, like, white people from other countries that are also being detained and deported,
Mm-mm. You probably will with the birthright citizenship thing going on, though, but still, again, we're a
Yeah,
little more safe than some.
yeah.
We discussed in the first part of this topic that detaining children with or without their parents is extremely traumatizing and harmful for them. Imagine what it would feel like to be a child and being sent to a prison to be detained just because you weren't born here. People justified the deportations and detainments by saying that ICE is just going after the criminals. However, that is not exactly the case. We've seen time and time again that ICE is detaining innocent people who have not committed any crime aside from crossing the border illegally. The far right tries to put out statements and rumors stating that most of the people that cross the border illegally are murderers, rapists, and gang members. Not only is this hateful and ignorant to say, it's quite wrong. While this may be the case for some of these people, it is not the case for all of them. Some of them are coming here to provide a better life and better opportunities for themselves and their families.
I don't remember if I included it in the script this time, but I do remember seeing on some news website that I think it was Mexico was actually turning planes away. The
Mm-hmm.
people that were, like, being deported back to Mexico, they were, like, stopping the planes.
Mm-hmm. They're like, what do
Um,
you want us to do with these people, basically?
which I kind of love that. Like, good for them. I also saw a statement somewhere. I don't know if it was a real statement, but it was supposedly from, I think, the president of Mexico, and
Mm-hmm.
she said something along the lines of um, that, like, Mexican people were being deported on the basis of US assuming that they're, like, criminals, rapists, gang members, and she's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I thought that's I thought that's what you guys wanted because, like, your president is
Right?
is whatever felon.
Honestly,
Uh,
nothing really matters in that regard. We got a felon for president.
right? I just thought it was really funny, and I kind of hope it was a real statement because it's hilarious. I love how everybody is being so like petty.
Right? Well, it's
It's so
time
funny.
to, like, not be, violent or anything, but to fling shit back, not to sit down and take it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I love that everybody has been so petty with it. Like, it's so funny to me that this is their way of like coming back. And then Canada saying that they're going to take Washington and Oregon and California
Please.
gladly.
Like, really, what's the problem with having health care for everyone? Tell me one problem with that.
Right? Someone's going to say taxes.
It's already a problem. I'd rather pay taxes and have free health care than pay taxes and not know what the fuck it's going to.
Right. Exactly. ICE has really been cracking down on raids lately all across the country. They were actually even in Portland recently.
Mm-hmm.
Portland and a few other cities. I saw some videos of them coming through, which is scary.
Not even bringing warrants.
No, no, they're irritating.
And to that I say, don't say anything and ask for a lawyer, and you do not have to let them in.
Yes, yes. I think we have a little bit more on that too in a little bit here, but nearly 11,000 immigrants have already been deported since Trump took office on January 20th. And one such raid in Denver targeted hundreds of people who they claimed to be part of a violent Venezuelan gang. However, it turns out that only one person that was targeted was actually allegedly part of the gang. So out of the hundreds of people that they were saying were gang members and criminals, it was one person.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. Like, they're really not, like I said, they're really just basing it off of skin color at this point, is what it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And ICE agents were seen going door to door and asking residents to provide their identification, travel documents, as well as asking permission to enter their homes. And in most cases, these agents did not provide warrants or explanations as to why they were there. So please remember that if ICE comes to your door, you don't have to let them in without them showing you a warrant that is signed by a judge. They've been trying to show people some sort of warrants that's like not signed by a judge, but
They're
you
like
don't have to let them in.
falsified.
Yeah, falsified, but like not technically, if that makes sense. Because it is a warrant that's just not signed by a judge, which in this case, it does have to be a warrant that is signed by a judge. And a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to let them in unless they show you a warrant that's signed by a judge. You can also tell them that you will not answer any questions or talk to them without a lawyer present.
Yes.
Because, yeah. So, oh, and then I read too, if they come to your work, if you're like a manager or you own a business somewhere, you can kind of tell them the same thing, that like nobody's going to answer their questions, nobody's going to talk to them, they can't talk to anybody without a lawyer present. And then same thing with the warrant too, they have to have a warrant signed by a judge.
Right.
Everybody's got to be careful out there.
And know your rights.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of videos that you can watch on this too, like in different scenarios when like ICE comes to your door, ICE comes to your work, if they approach you like in public. There's a lot of videos you can watch that will go over how to handle it.
Yeah, I've seen some of those.
Hmm. I've seen quite a few on TikTok, actually.
With the mass deportations, around 11,000 immigrants were sent to Mexico from the US. What's interesting about this is that the number includes about 2,500 non Mexican immigrants that were also deported to Mexico. Due to this happening, the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, I don't know if I pronounced
I
that right,
I think so.
has
I think that's
offered
right.
to help these 2,500 immigrants get back to their home countries if that was what they wanted to do. I feel like this is what should be done in the first place to an extent because, as previously mentioned, a lot of people are coming here for better opportunities, not to commit crimes. For
Majority of
those
people.
that are coming to better themselves and their lives, they should be provided an opportunity like this rather than just being named a criminal right off the bat and being detained in a prison or forcibly sent back.
It's like we were talking about in the beginning. There should be like a nice like middle ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody that comes here illegally is a criminal.
Right.
Granted, there are some people that are, and maybe they should be, deported back. Maybe they should have this option also if they want to, better their lives. Maybe they have better opportunities here that they didn't have in their home country.
Yeah. And it's like with any group, you can't just say everyone is bad or criminal. Of course, there are going to be some in that group, but it's not
Mhm.
everyone.
Except for cops.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, I thought this was really cool that they're like offering to help people get back to
Yeah.
their home countries if they want it, but then they can also stay if they want it.
Yeah. And so they're not stuck one way or the other because they were deported or detained.
Right, right. Because how does that even happen? Like, how do you send 11,000 immigrants to one country and then 2,500 of those people aren't even from that country?
Right?
I,
Because you assumed, again, based off their skin color and not who or what they really are.
yeah, yeah. It just like they're really not doing anything like to look at these people's backgrounds. Obviously, it's like we said a minute ago, hundreds of people were detained, and then only one person actually ended up being part of, allegedly being part of that gang. So,
Right.
like, why they're really just looking at people and being like, "You're not from here."
Mm-hmm. And beyond the horribleness of what it already is, it just, what, how do you think it's gonna make things cheaper for the country either? It's not. You're spending
No,
more money sending them away.
right, right. And then now there's going to be like all these jobs too that like other people aren't going to want to do because a lot of the time they do the hard labor, like farm jobs and stuff. Or I can't even. I I just. And that's going to cost more to like try and figure out how to get like other people into those positions, right? Because immigrants are more willing to take a lower pay.
That's not great either, but it's true. Like,
No,
if we
yeah,
hire American people for those same jobs, you're gonna have to
it's going to
pay
cost
them
way
more.
more. Yeah, it's just going to cost way more. Like, I don't understand how people are seeing this as like this is going to better the country and make everything better when in reality it's like you're taking away diversity, right?
Hmm.
Things are going to go way up in cost because you're not going to have the people like doing those jobs anymore. And then the people in the country that are going to be doing those jobs are going to want a higher pay.
Mm-hmm.
which they should have a higher pay in the first place, but at the same time, it's going to be crazy expensive.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna go way up.
Eggs are already like $10.
I know. I just saw they were like $8 here for 12, and I was like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck?"
yeah, dude. It's ridiculous. And we've talked briefly about birthright citizenship, and for those who may not know what that means, when someone is born in the U.S. to immigrant parents, they become a citizen of the U.S. by birth. Um, and there are executive orders going around that state these people should not be considered citizens of the U.S. and should instead be considered as immigrants, which makes no sense.
No,
I don't. You're born here. How can you be an immigrant?
I don't know. It's literally why they birthright citizenship is a thing.
Right. And fortunately, a lot of judges have opposed it and saying that it like violates, I think it was the 14th Amendment.
Yes, I believe so.
There are still a lot of people that agree with the order, which it's really odd because the only people that were here natively are Native Americans. Everybody else is technically an immigrant, so
Mm-hmm.
so awkward.
I think it's insane to call the people who were here first and we stole the land from immigrants and not allowed to be here.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Thankfully, also it is currently being appealed. They're trying to fight back on it because that's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a quote from one of the judges that appealed it, or was part of the appeal, and I wanted to include it here because I feel like they are important words. And his statement was, "It has become ever more apparent that to our president, the rule of law is but an impediment to his policy goals. The rule of law is, according to him, something to navigate around or simply ignore, whether that be for political or personal gain. Nevertheless, in this courtroom and under my watch, the rule of law is a bright beacon which I intend to follow."
I love that.
I know, I thought it was great. So basically, he's stating that, like, he just totally disagrees. And that's amazing. We need way more people like that,
Yeah,
especially in like the higher up positions, because it's really quite insane how many people like follow him. And I just
I know it's scary, but people need to stand up. Otherwise, it's not going to be good for anyone.
right. No. And yeah, it's just maddening.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to mention this. I guess you'd say it's a meme. I don't know. Something about basically everyone thinks that they're somehow living independently, but we
Mhm,
don't make the clothes we buy. We don't package
mhm.
them and ship them and deliver them. Like, other people do that for us. None of us could do this alone, basically.
Right.
We don't grow most of the food we eat unless you have a small little garden or you're a farmer.
Yeah.
Same with the grain, all kinds of things. Like, we're in this together. We don't need to be independent. We're not.
Right. There's so many, we get a lot of our things from like so many other countries. And it's scary how, like, with the tariffs and everything, like a lot of countries aren't willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that's going to force things to be made here in the States, which a lot of people think would be cheaper. And in reality, it's not.
Mm-hmm. It won't
So,
be.
no.
It's gonna go up for us, not them.
Yeah. Yeah. because even with the countries that are willing to do the tariffs, that still is going to make the prices go up for things, because what's going to happen is we're charging this, other countries, other companies, these tariffs. And then in order to make that money back, that company is going to raise their prices.
Exactly. That's what I just thought that kind of went hand in hand with this.
Yeah. I just keep thinking about a while ago, I think it was on election night, someone commented on one of my posts saying, like, oh, just wait until your groceries are cheaper. Like, you're going to be thankful. No. The groceries aren't going to be cheaper. No. Eggs have already gone up like $4.
I know. I had to get rid of some people that were trying to convince me, oh, just watch, this will be so good for us. No, it's not going to be.
No, it's not. This isn't even related to this topic. It's just another thing that was like just totally wild to me, and it just popped into my mind. He signed an executive order to take away paper straws.
Dude, I know. I mean, the paper straws don't really work anyway, but that's not the point.
No, the point of paper straws was to keep straws out of the ocean, like, because they're killing the sea life. And he said a plastic straw isn't gonna kill a shark. It fucking might.
It will kill a turtle. It will kill a fish.
Yeah.
I was literally just talking about that same thing with my mom, like, the other day. Like, I've seen somewhere before where there's this company in Mexico, I think it is. They're making, like, spoons and straws and, like, cutlery out of avocado pits, basically, and I think that's fucking genius.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we do that with the straws or bamboo or something,
Right.
It doesn't have to be one way or the other, like we said before. How about you stop being lazy and actually find a solution to the problem?
Right, and just the way that he talks about things, too. Like, it's so weird.
Weird, and, like, everything's underneath him.
Yeah, because I was watching that video of him signing the executive order about the straws, and he was just like, oh, paper straws, they just fall apart, and if you have a hot drink, they last minutes, and sometimes they explode. I was like, what are you even saying?
They explode.
Excuse my horrible Trump impression.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, he literally said sometimes they explode. What kind of paper straws are you using?
Excuse me while I die.
Just get fucking metal straws. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Some other type of solution. Stop being fucking lazy. It doesn't have to be plastic. Paper obviously doesn't work, but they don't explode.
Yeah. Sometimes they explode. I don't get it, dude. Oh my god. Anyways, back on topic.
I'm dying. Okay.
I'm gonna have to find that clip, see if we can play it on here, because it was really funny.
Well, yeah. To me.
Yeah. Okay, back on topic.
Executive order aiming to take away birthright citizenship for immigrants also aimed to take away birthright citizenship for Native Americans. Native Americans were here before anyone else. If anyone in this country deserves to have their citizenship protected, it is Native Americans. It's literally in their name.
Native Americans.
The Justice Department tried to justify the executive order by stating that birth in the U.S. does not entitle anyone to citizenship, but they must also be subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. There was a case in 1884 that stated members of Native American tribes were not subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. and therefore are not constitutionally entitled to be citizens of the U.S.
I was just gonna state, I totally forgot. I was gonna, I didn't fully understand what that meant, being like subject to the jurisdiction of the US.
Mhm.
And I was gonna look up like what exactly that meant, and I completely forgot. So that's my bad. But regardless,
From context, it just seems like what we stated above,
yeah.
that they deserve to be protected, basically.
Right.
Thankfully, there are still many people that see how archaic and insane this is to take away the citizenship of people who were here before anyone else. However, the Justice Department is unfortunately trying to bring up old racist cases to prove their point, and there are also many people that side with them.
Which that's also crazy to me, that it's literally the Justice Department who's looking this up. Like, I just, what do you mean Native Americans don't have birthright citizenship? What do you fucking mean?
Right? Just because you don't want them here doesn't mean that they don't have that or deserve it.
It's so incredibly ridiculous. Like, who does have birthright citizenship then, honestly?
Right. If they don't, who does?
And nobody, apparently. The US belongs to no one. Anyways, I found that clip on the paper straws and I want to play it really quick because it's fucking funny.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Nobody really likes paper straw.
Number one trending. Can you believe it? A paper straw was number one trending for 3 days or something.
The environmental impact of plastic straws versus paper straws is entirely unclear. This has cost both the government and private industry.
Entirely unclear.
Unclear.
No, it's not.
You're just dumb. Not. I mean, ignorant.
Yeah.
An absolute ton of money, and left consumers all over the country wildly dissatisfied with their straws. So we're asking...
We're wildly dissatisfied with our paper straws. I can't.
This is a joke. Of the federal government, federal departments, and agencies to look at their existing procurement processes. And we're asking your Domestic Policy Council to look holistically at this issue to address it. It really is something that affects ordinary Americans in their everyday lives.
We're going back to plastic straws. These things don't work.
Sounds like a joke.
I've had them many times, and on occasion they break, they explode. They don't last very long, like a matter of minutes. Sometimes a matter of seconds. It's a ridiculous situation. So we're going back to plastic straws. I think it's okay.
God, the way they talk in circles is insane.
Yeah, and they make it sound like paper straws have been, like, destroying us, like destroying humanity.
Right? I mean, they're inconvenient, and yes, they do suck, but...
They don't explode.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna play the last bit, because this is when he mentions the shark.
And I don't think that plastic's going to affect the shark very much as they're munching their way through the ocean.
That's the problem.
Right? They're munching through the ocean. You just said so.
That's the problem. Oh my god.
Need, like, real fixes, not this dribbling bullshit.
No, and like so many of the comments on that video too were like, is this really an issue? Like,
right, of all the things we could be trying to fix, you're worried about the paper fucking straws.
Right. They're like, I don't like paper straws, but at the same time, like, if that's Like, I'd rather have a paper straw over a plastic straw most of the time.
I mean, I don't like paper ones at all, but don't get me wrong, plastic's not good for the ocean and environment.
Yeah, and that's I'm willing to take an explosive paper straw.
It's like there's other options, like the metal ones, like you said, or the reusable, like hard plastic that you're not going to toss anytime soon.
Right.
Silicone.
Yeah.
I think bamboo would be brilliant.
So many other options, and we don't have to deal with exploding paper straws. I can't get over the fact that he said sometimes they explode. Okay, anyways.
There have been so many updates in the last couple of weeks with all of the executive orders being signed. Thankfully, some things are being pushed back on and appealed. However, for others, some parties are trying really hard to get them passed. Hateful rumors are also being spread to try and instill fear in the people to gain support for these orders. Oh, also, there's so much going on at the same time, and that's purposeful. They're trying to overwhelm people, and we need to find a few things to focus on and really get on top of those.
Yeah, which I feel like that's a thing that happens quite often is they push out a bunch of things all at once to overwhelm people, and you can't focus on everything, and it's to distract from everything exactly that's going on. They're just pushing out so many things, one after another, after another, after another. And it's kind of like head spinning, right? But you have to take the time to really focus in on things and really see what's going on. Because it is a lot and it is overwhelming.
Yeah, and that's the purpose, to make you freeze basically, or be fearful, or
Yeah, and you don't want to do that. I get it's overwhelming, and I get it can be a lot and very anxiety inducing, but try to focus in on things,
And it is scary, but that's exactly what they want.
Yeah, stand your ground. And in the next couple of episodes or so, we want to go back to some of the previous episodes and include further details and new updates as part twos, which is what this one was, part 2 to episode 2. And we hope to provide further insight and knowledge on the current events of previous topics covered.
Yeah. As a reminder, we want the show to be as informative as possible, but we also want to make it interesting and engaging. If any of our listeners have any ideas on how we can make this more fun for everyone, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on any of our platforms or our email.
Yeah, and I think we kind of did that a little bit with this episode, including that funny little piece about the exploding paper straws. We need a good laugh sometimes.
Yes, because it's very, like I said before, scary and just intense, stressful.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta take a break and laugh for a minute.
Yes.
And we highly encourage everyone to do their own research on these topics and spread the knowledge. We also encourage people to reach out to us with helpful feedback, suggestions, or things you would like for us to include. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. And links for everything will be included somewhere.
You can also reach out to us via email at thesafepod@outlook.com. And you can find full episodes on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Links for these will also be included. We appreciate you all taking the time to sit with us and listen to what you have to say. Continue to use your spark with us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.